I was never really the type to get creeped out easily. I'm just your average guy, John, who loves a good deal, so I often find myself wandering around Walmart, sometimes late into the night. But this one night was different. It was around 11 p.m., and I was just there for some last-minute groceries. The store wasn't particularly crowded, but as I made my way through the aisles, I noticed an older homeless man. I recognized him because he often stood near the entrance with a cardboard sign. I'd given him change a few times. But this night, he wasn't outside. He was inside, pacing rapidly back and forth in front of the pharmacy section, which was closed. I could see the desperation in his eyes, and I instantly felt a pit in my stomach. He was muttering to himself. I couldn't make out much, but I did catch phrases like "need my meds" and "can't handle it." My first thought was that he might be suffering from a mental illness and that he needed his medication. I wanted to approach him and maybe help, but I hesitated. There's always that thought in the back of your mind that says, "Don't get involved. It's none of your business." But the guy looked so desperate. It was hard to ignore. I decided to try to engage him in conversation, maybe offer to buy him some food or even just listen to what he had to say. People usually just want someone to talk to, right? "Hey, are you okay?" I asked, slowly approaching him. He startled a bit, then looked up at me, his eyes red-rimmed and bloodshot. "I need my medication. They usually give it to me at the free clinic, but it's been days, and I'm starting to feel wrong," he said, voice trembling. I nodded sympathetically. "What do you need?" "Maybe they sell it over the counter." He shook his head. "No, it's a special kind. They said I couldn't get it without a prescription, and the pharmacy's closed. I don't know what to do." We were standing close to the self-checkout area, and out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a female cashier observing us, her face displaying a mix of concern and curiosity. She seemed to recognize the man, or maybe she'd seen him around the store before. "I'm really sorry," I said. "Maybe you can go to the clinic first thing in the morning?" He looked at the ground, defeated. "I don't think I'll last the night without it," he murmured. That statement sent chills down my spine. There was a sincerity in his voice that made me believe he wasn't just trying to get sympathy or money. I felt my palms get sweaty. "Stay here. I'll be right back," I said, heading to the cashier. "Hey," I said to the cashier, a young woman, probably in her early 20s, "do you know anything about that guy? He says he needs his medication from the pharmacy, but it's closed." She looked over to where the homeless man stood, still pacing, still clearly agitated. "Yeah, I've seen him around. Always quiet, never caused any trouble. Poor guy's probably just having a rough night. Is there anything we can do? Like, is there a way to get an emergency prescription or something?" I asked, hoping she might have some insight. She shrugged. "I really don't know. But we can't really do anything from here. Maybe you could try taking him to the ER. They might be able to help." I sighed, feeling the weight of the situation. I didn't really know this man, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he genuinely needed help. And I couldn't just walk away, not when I knew he was in distress. Making my way back to him, I said, "Listen, why don't I take you to the emergency room? They might be able to get you what you need." He looked up, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "Would you really do that for me?" "Of course," I replied. "Let's go." As we began to head towards the store's exit, the homeless man's behavior grew increasingly erratic. He started clutching his head, mumbling to himself louder, seemingly on the brink of a full-blown panic attack. As we neared the sliding glass doors, he stopped suddenly and began to breathe heavily. I could see the veins in his neck throbbing, and his eyes darted around the store wildly. It was as if the walls were closing in on him. Hey, take a deep breath," I tried to reassure him, putting a hand on his shoulder. The fluorescent lights overhead seemed to amplify his paling complexion. Suddenly, a loud crash resonated through the store, drawing our attention. A display near the electronics section had toppled over. I figured it was just an accident, maybe a customer bumped into it. But that distraction had a clear effect on the homeless man. His state worsened dramatically. He began to scream, drawing the attention of everyone in the vicinity. His screams weren't words, just expressions of raw terror and anguish. He started running back into the store, away from the exit, pushing aside anyone in his path. I chased after him, but he was surprisingly fast, fueled by sheer panic. The young female cashier from earlier, hearing the commotion, approached us, trying to understand what was happening. "What did you do?" she shouted at me, mistakenly thinking I had something to do with his distress. "I didn't do anything," I replied, exasperated. "He's having some sort of panic attack or withdrawal. He needs his medication." Without any warning, the homeless man, still in a delirious state, grabbed a shard of broken glass from the fallen display. The sharp end pointed dangerously outward. The female cashier, unaware of the impending danger, continued to approach him, trying to calm him down. "No, stay back!" I screamed, realizing what could happen. But it was too late. In his disoriented state, and perhaps seeing her as a threat, the homeless man lunged at the cashier. She barely had time to scream before the shard of glass connected with her side. Blood instantly stained her Walmart vest, the dark red standing in stark contrast to its blue hue. I rushed over, pushing the man away, but the damage was done. The other customers had begun to scream and scatter, some pulling out their phones, probably calling 911. The homeless man, seeing the horror of what he'd just done, dropped the shard and began to sob uncontrollably. He sank to the floor, his entire body shaking. The cashier lay motionless, the pool of blood growing around her. My heart raced, and I tried to recall any basic first aid, pressing on the wound to stem the flow of blood. Store security arrived within moments, detaining the homeless man, though he put up no resistance. His only action was to repeatedly mutter, "I didn't want this. I just needed my meds." The sirens of the incoming ambulance grew louder, echoing the urgency of the situation. It was all so surreal. What was supposed to be a simple late-night shopping trip had turned into a nightmare I'd never forget. In the aftermath, the paramedics did their best, but the young cashier's injury was too severe. She passed away before reaching the hospital. I later learned more about the homeless man. His name was Peter. He had been a war veteran and had been diagnosed with severe PTSD. The medication he was on was meant to help him control his panic attacks and flashbacks. Without it, his mind had spiraled out of control, leading to that tragic night at Walmart. People often say you never know what someone else is going through, and that's true. That night taught me the gravity of those words. It's a lesson I'll carry with me forever. A reminder that sometimes, all someone needs is a bit of understanding and compassion. If only we'd been able to get Peter the help he needed sooner, maybe things would have turned out differently. If this story sent chills down your spine, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to Sacred Scream's Sanctum for more spine-tingling tales. Got a similar story or thoughts on this one? Drop a comment below. Until next time, stay eerie and always listen to the whispers of the night. Crescent Moon Ghosts.